and welcome back. I'm excited about this topic. It's not one I've had on my channel before, so I want to thank MJ for her question. This is the question that we're going to be answering.
How do you work to combat feelings of imposter syndrome and fully embrace your autism?
Here's a quick description of what imposter syndrome is in case you never heard of it.
Imposter syndrome is a phenomenon where individuals with autism experience a sense of uncertainty, self-doubt, and feeling like a fraud.
Hello, my name is Sienna Price, and I am back doing another YouTube creator collab for Autistic Jenny. How do I deal with imposter syndrome as an autistic person? This is a challenging one because there's a lot to unpack here. So, first of all, I am a perfectionist. I feel like the tasks that I do, they have to be perfect. One little mistake means I have to go over it again and again. I'm an overachiever. Also, I am a super person. You know, I have to be strong all the time. I have to have that positive attitude of I can handle anything. I can take on this task, I can take on this emotion, even though it's overwhelming. And if that moment I show emotion of this is too much, then I'm thinking, well, now I'm just being a loser. Now I'm just being a failure. Now I'm just being, how do I deal with this? First off, I express my feelings through improvisational music because I find that music is the most non-judgmental, safe place, and I can just get those feelings out through music. And some other ways I do my best to challenge those thoughts. Am I really not that good enough? Does my worth really depend on being strong all the time? Does my worth really depend on getting it right on the first try and overachieving and go, get it right, get it. You know, does it have to be like that? No, it probably doesn't. Where are these rules coming from? Were they coming from past childhood? Is it something that I kind of brought on myself? And then once I answer these questions, then I can think, well, how can I not do this? How can I not put all these unrealistic boundaries on myself? Be more self-compassionate. I'd say that's the biggest one, is we as a community need to be more self-compassionate and self-loving and accept ourselves for who we are and realize that we are good enough. We're not a fake. We're not, we are trying the best that we can. And so what if it's not society's expectations? This is our expectations. So that's how I am working to deal with imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome is definitely something that a lot of late diagnosed people can understand and relate to. I can, have days where I feel like I'm completely capable of following tasks and being social and processing the world around me. And then I have other days. So, on the days that I am feeling like I'm able, they're the days where I have imposter syndrome. Until the day I got my diagnosis, I think being an imposter was just so strong in my mind. And I was afraid that by claiming to be something that I might not be, it takes away from other people. Well, so I knew I didn't fit into a neurotypical world, but maybe I didn't fit into the autistic world either. So I kind of lived in limbo, feeling this imposter syndrome a lot. I don't have to doubt it. Just because I'm capable to do some things and I find some things really easy doesn't mean that I don't have struggles in other areas and massive challenges. But at times, I do feel completely competent. I don't need to ask for help. I don't get overwhelmed. I can do social interaction. I'm able to function. But I would say since having a diagnosis, imposter syndrome hasn't been as strong for me because I just have that, for some reason, expert's opinion seems to matter. The validation that I felt when I got a professional telling me I'm autistic, it eradicated a lot of the thoughts that, oh, you're just faking it, or you're not really autistic enough to fit into the autistic world. It lessened, and it's definitely been more reassuring. I'm pretty sure most autistic people have felt this at some stage, and it is very, it's strong and it's real. As a child, I was constantly put in situations where I had to mask better. So I learned very, very quickly to adapt to these situations and act exactly how people expected me to. So that by the time I became an adult, I had mastered the camouflage ability. That also means that me accepting that I'm autistic and it's not imposter syndrome, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of unlearning all these coping strategies that I've put in place my whole life. And that will be the same for many people. It's a learning journey of discovering who we are and trusting who we are.
If you're seeing this, Jenny paid me an extraordinary amount of money. Granted, due to the conversion rate, she only needed to pay me 10 American dollars, but I'm now a millionaire. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I want to talk briefly about imposter syndrome. You know, here's the thing. I try to interview lots of autistic people, and I've been doing more recently. They all have different stories. They all have different daily support needs, care needs. They all have, different challenges, different strengths. I almost automatically go, I think I'm not autistic, or they're more autistic or less autistic, or I just fall into this imposter syndrome trap. And it's because what we preach is actually the reverse of what we practice, right? Because I meet other autistic people, I meet a lot of them. We're all so different because it's a bloody spectrum. No crap, Orion. We're all so different. Yet I have these neurotypical standards and expectations implanted in me from birth, from being rejected and told, you're different, you're wrong, be like us. And then I think, then I can't be then. Now, of course, I was diagnosed by a healthcare professional, like an expert in the field. I didn't get it off a cornflakes packet or something. So firstly, I struggle with imposter syndrome every day. I have an autistic son. I watch his challenges. How I overcome that? We are all different. We all have different support needs. We all have different care needs. We are part of a spectrum. We are autistic. Every autistic person is different. Our challenges and our strengths are what make us who we are today. That's not going to help me probably. I'm going to have imposter syndrome tomorrow, the next day. But why is that? Mostly because I've got these inbuilt neurotypical standards telling me there is only one type of autism. And if you're not that, you're not autistic. And that's why it's so hard for late diagnosed autistic adults to come to grips with it. Even having autistic kids and even knowing the journey they've been on. I feel like this is the most useless, most unhelpful, potentially worst 2 minutes of content I've ever provided. Yeah, but maybe that's imposter syndrome too.
Hi, so it's taken me ages to gear up to doing this because I've been thinking about it a lot, as I do, and drawing lots of diagrams, making lots of notes, and generally just researching the heck out of it, which, as men, I've avoided doing it. So here I am to talk about imposter syndrome. I think it's something that really relates well now in the context of getting an autism diagnosis, because I can relate to feeling like an imposter from a very, very early age. I can remember being a child and just thinking, I don't kind of belong here. I don't kind of understand what other people are doing. I didn't walk till a very late age because I didn't really understand why people did that. Why couldn't we just be like the animals and slither on the floor? All sorts of weird thoughts that I can remember. I always found an affinity with nature far more than with people. Didn't understand what all the noise was about in the classroom. Didn't understand the concepts the teachers were trying to tell me, etc. Just did my own thing, went home, researched my own things, did it my own way. which is, basically the story of my life. But I did realise that got you nowhere, and had to actually sort of try and fit in, and that's where the masking starts. At a very young age, you try and sort of, assimilate what you see and become what people give you positive feedback for. So you build up this huge mask, which I did for 50 years. Sort of now, in the context of being diagnosed, taking away that mask is revealing that I don't actually know who I am. It's really, really difficult, and I still actually feel like an imposter, even in the autism community, because I think, could I be faking it? Could I just put all these, even though I've got a diagnosis, could I just be fitting criteria to my traits? So it's just like this never-ending cycle, really, particularly in the context of being late diagnosed. I don't know what the answer is. I suppose with more awareness and better societal sort of treatment towards people with autism, it will get better, and maybe imposter syndrome will become less apparent. Thanks.
Let me begin by giving a shout out to Jenny. Jenny, you've helped us to learn more about ourselves. You've helped us to know that we're not alone, and you've helped us to meet some wonderful people, yourself included, and you found your voice. My friends, when imposter syndrome strikes, remember that autism has become your special interest because you resonate so strongly with it, because you're not an imposter. Remember that not all autistic people have level 3 support needs. Maybe you're usually level 1 or level 2. Remember that autistic people can empathize and can even have hyper empathy. Remember that not all autistic people are male, and that women have more social pressure to mask than us men. Remember that you might have imposter syndrome because you've become so adept at masking, whether you're male or female. Remember that when you mask, that's when you're being the imposter, not when you're being yourself. Remember that the majority of autistic people also have ADHD. And if you happen to be one of those people, your ADHD traits may often mask the autistic part of you. Remember that this uniqueness you've felt all your life is more than just introversion or depression or social anxiety or simply being a highly sensitive person. Remember that if others doubt that you are autistic, that they've probably only seen the part of you that masks. Remember that the general public is still pretty ignorant about autism, and that even professional assessors can be wrong. Jenny herself took 2 tries before she was correctly diagnosed as being autistic. You have an autistic mind, and it's a wonderful mind. You finally found the gift of a real sense of belonging for probably the first time in your entire life, as well as the gift of validation. Don't let imposter syndrome ruin those gifts for you. They're too important, and you're too important. Reaffirm yourself, move on, and use your spoons and that awesome brain of yours for something good instead. It's been a real privilege to talk to all of you. MJ and all the rest of you out there, you're not an imposter, and you're my friends.
How do I combat feelings of imposter syndrome? Well, I remind myself of the many misunderstandings I've had in my life due to the double empathy problem, being on a different wavelength to most people. I remind myself of the amount of times that I've felt lonely because I've been misunderstood. My love of knowledge, I love facts, I like being logical, and my special interests, they're really, really important to me. And that reminds me that I'm autistic. I'm not an imposter. How do I fully embrace my autism? I allow myself time to be alone. I used to feel quite guilty that I spent a lot of time on my own, but now I don't, because I know I need that time. My YouTube channel, so I spend a lot of time making videos. So I'm embracing my autism by making YouTube videos. I'm embracing my autism by connecting with other autistic people through the videos and through online forums. And finally, I'd say that I'm embracing my autism by advocating for autistic people. So I'm increasingly involved in advocacy groups, writing to various organizations and so on. And I feel that by doing that, I'm really embracing my autism.
Hi friends, Lisle here with a quick video, and hopefully I won't cough because I have a cough. First, Jenny, what helps us accept ourselves is this. Thank you as always for bringing us together to give us a sense of belonging as we share. And MJ, great question. Hearts to both of you. What I want to focus on in my 2 minutes is that self-acceptance is a process and it's a journey, right? We've spent all this time, all these years, if we've just recently been diagnosed, not knowing what was with us, right? And we've gotten feedback from people that the way we communicate, the way we move in the world, the way we socialize, the way we think is not normal, right? But it is normal for us. We are on the human spectrum. So what we need in order to accept ourselves and not feel like imposters is to know that we belong. We belong. We are in a community together of people who understand what it's like, and the ways that we are different are not wrong. They're just different. And if we can support one another, because we may not get it out there in the world, right? But if we can support one another to accept who we are, then our journey is going to be quicker and more pleasant. The quicker we get back into feeling peace about who we are, the more we'll flow into our joy. And when we're in our joy, love flows, right? And there's plenty of space for everyone. So I just want to emphasize the fact that it's going to take us a while and that it's okay. It's all right. Yeah, that's kind of what I want to say this time. And I didn't cough. Yay!
William O'Flaherty from Adult Autism in 60 Seconds. Feelings of imposter syndrome come and go for me. Having been only diagnosed a year ago in February 2024 at the age of 60, I initially had no problem embracing being autistic. That's because it explained so much about why I struggled my entire life with social interactions, among other things. Having an interest in psychology, though, from late teens and being on the tech side of drama classes from early high school meant I developed the ability to copy socially acceptable behaviors and not appear all that autistic. Then, being such a high masker, as it's called, meant that there are times when people doubt that I'm autistic. And so it makes me wonder at times, is it just a combination of social phobia, depression, and general anxiety? Might any of those conditions better explain my situation? Well, my answer to this is the following to raise this question. Couldn't the appearance of the symptoms in those conditions be explained because of being autistic? After all, being autistic and not knowing it certainly created a lot of anxiety, depression, and a tendency to avoid social situations in my life.
So imposter syndrome can affect me as an autistic person. It can affect me in the fact of comparing myself to other autistic people and maybe thinking to myself thoughts like, well, I don't act like them, maybe I'm not autistic. So we can tend to do that sometimes. And what we have to realize is autism is a spectrum. We have different strengths and weaknesses. So comparing ourselves to other autistic people to determine if we're autistic is not the right thing to do, and it doesn't effectively tell us if we're autistic or not. So one thing we know commonly that autistic people tend to not want to give eye contact and maybe don't like to be touched, don't like people to touch them in general or hugs or things. So that is one reason I thought why I just couldn't be autistic, because I was able to at least give some eye contact, as my therapist noted. That doesn't mean that I'm not autistic just because I can give some eye contact, and just because I don't freak out if someone hugs me. It really doesn't affect me that bad. I don't find it painful if someone hugs me. because of those two major factors, I thought that I couldn't be autistic. But you're not going to fit the mold exactly for autism. You're not going to check off every single box of what autism is, and you have to realize that. But let's just stop comparing ourselves to other people. I think that's the first step for me, is to not compare myself to every autistic YouTuber I watch or autistic person I know in my personal life. So I want to thank everybody for watching this video, and I want you to comment down below, who did you relate to, or what did you learn in this video? And thanks so much for watching this month's Creator Collab. If you want to stick around for some more Creator Collabs, I'll put a couple up if you haven't watched them over here. You can check those out. We'll see you next time. Bye.